All right, we'll go ahead and get started. Listen, thank you all for being here this evening. We're going to go. We might have a few more folks come in, but we wanted to get started at 5:30, and out of respect for the folks that got here on time and ready to ask some questions. Those of you who don't know me, I'm Skip Henderson. I'm the mayor of Columbus. Teresa Tomlinson started Let's Talk with the Mayor probably 8 years ago. It was right at the beginning of her term. She would meet and give people an opportunity to come ask whatever questions they wanted to ask. And we kept it going. We rebranded it. We changed it to, I'm not loud enough. Let me move it closer. So we changed it to Let's Talk Columbus because we wanted the focus to be on this community and ideas and questions that may come from members of this community. We wanted them to be involved in the process. So we try to do it every quarter. We got a little less regular, as I mentioned earlier, due to COVID, when we were trying to get together by staying apart. But the idea behind these meetings is to hear from you. So we have most of the department heads that you could hope to interact with here this evening. So it's not likely that you'll have a question that they can't answer or they can't at least get you to the right resources. So I'm going to ask our city manager, Isaiah Hughley, to introduce some of the department heads that are here tonight, and we'll get things started. We'll go right to your questions.
Good afternoon, and thank you for being here. I'm going to ask the department heads or assistant department heads to stand so that I don't miss anybody. I will say that, as the mayor said, they are here. I'm Isaiah Hughley, the city manager. We've got Deputy City Manager Pam Hodge, Seth Brown, who's over crime prevention. Man. And we've got Drell Short and Michelle Main with Public Works. Drell is the Director of Public Works. We've got our public safety people here, the Chief of Police, Tony Mathis, Fire EMS, Sal Scarpa. We've got Donna Newman, Engineering Director. We got Quincy Peer, Assistant Director, Homeland Security. We've got Chance Corbett, over Homeland Security. We've got Metra, Rosa Evans with Public Transit, and Everett Fleming, the Assistant Director. We've got Inspections and Codes representative, name slipping me now, and then we've got Tax Assessor, Assistant Tax Assessor. I know Suzanne Whitehouse said she could not be here and you would be representing her. We've got Will Johnson, Planning Director in the back, Nancy Borden, Elections Registration. We've got Rob Scott, who's Community Reinvestment and Real Estate. We've got Tiasha Johnson, who's our Director of Communications, and we've got Danielle Frazier, who's Director of 311. And we've got some other staff in here as well. Oh, Parks and Rec, we've got Holly Browder in the back. Over Parks and Rec, we've got Sheriff, I said Sal. Sheriff Department representatives, and so we've got the people here to answer your questions. And so, Mayor, I'm not going to, we've got Josh Beard, the Mayor's Chief of Staff, and Mayor, did you talk? We got Councilor Begley, citywide city councilor, who's here. Thank you, sir, for being here. And so with that, Mayor, I'm going to turn it back to you so that we can get right to the questions, and we look forward to answering your questions.
Well, don't go far because you answer all the hard ones. And I will tell you that in the event that we don't get many questions tonight, we've invited people to send in questions, and we've got a pretty good number of them. I don't know that we'll need to access these, but apparently if you sent these in, you're either playing pickleball or you have questions about animal control. So we are going to try to address the questions that come up about both of those issues and others. So we'll go ahead and get started right with your questions. So if there's anybody that wants to, what we'll do is ask you to come to this mic. And this is really more for questions than for statements. Once you take your time asking your question, we'll do our best to get the right department head or city employee to try to answer it for you. Go ahead.
Hello, Mr. Mayor. My name is April Brown. I'm a Haggett organizer and volunteer escort. at the Columbus Women's Health Organization. We're a completely volunteer group. I want to thank you for the opportunity. Basically, wanted to discuss with you as far as noise ordinances and the enforcement of them. We have been, we do our best to work with the local police all the time. We know about the between 10 p.m. to 10 a.m. noise ordinance. We fully understand it and respect it. And it was one of the reasons why we asked some of our supporters in the community for a decibel reader, so we could keep track and make sure that any music that we were playing for our patients, to make sure that they were comfortable, wasn't too loud for the neighborhood. Anytime that we try to play music when it's before 10 a.m., we always get told it's too loud. And we're like, well, we've got a decibel reader, because we were told that the police department, or the police that would come out whenever the pro-life organization next door would call the police due to noise ordinances, said, well, we don't have a decibel reader, so we don't know. It's like, well, we've got one. Well, we can't use yours because it's not ours. And I understand the frustration. I understand that the police are kind of tired of coming out. Really, what we're trying to figure out is how can we make sure that we are within the noise ordinance, especially since we do have a couple of visitors that like to come in on Saturdays who get a permit to say some of the most disturbing things you can imagine to anybody going to a doctor's appointment. But also just to kind of figure out, also, we've been looking to see if we can start up a meeting with the police department so that we can figure out as far as like a code of conduct for both of our sides. And it's been kind of hard to figure out, so we're just kind of wanting some information on the noise ordinance and what we can do.
Well, I'm going to give the mic to the chief and let him tell you a little bit about the ordinance, but I will tell you that that's one of the most challenging charges to make, because there are folks that will download an app that's a decibel meter, and we don't know how reliable those are. The police department, in order to make a case, would have to be able to use a decimeter or noise thing, whatever here. That's the technical term, noise things.
It's actually a little bit more than that. There's also ordinance about quality of life. So just because it doesn't read on the decimal reader, if you're disturbing people's quality of life, it's still something you ought not do. Now, we will meet with you because you guys filed a permit, them filed a permit, y'all having a war of microphones and music going off. It is disturbing when the police have to go out to y'all's location just about every week. So we do need to meet. And you might not like the answers I give you, but we do need to meet and talk about it, because you're taking up a lot of resources that really don't need to be taken up.
Well, and that's completely understandable, sir, and that's one of the reasons why we're wanting to check, because I don't understand how we're the ones that are saying that we're getting the quality of life when we have protesters who claim on their permit that they're just preaching the gospel, when they're specifically pointing out particular patients, telling them they're killing their culture, they're as bad as Hitler, and they need to keep their legs closed, otherwise they wouldn't be here. So I don't know why we're the ones that are getting constantly hammered for things that we're just trying to protect our patients from. I understand free speech, I really do, but we're the only ones that are getting talked down to versus, say, some of the others.
Did you come to the microphone? Sorry.
We really just want these patients to be able to go to their appointment without getting harassed. That is our main goal. We're not actively trying to instigate any fights or anything. We really just want these women to be able to go to their appointment without harassment, as they're free to do.
Yeah, you know, I think what the chief just offered up is a great starting point for y'all to sit down with law enforcement and just find out the framework, because, you know, there free speech. When they are, we have protesters downtown as well, in the uptown area, and we've started working with them to try to keep them separated and allowing the permit, but just at least keeping them from being right there on top of each other. So there's only so much you can do within the bounds of the law. So if you would, before you leave, let Chief Mathis know how to reach you, and we'll try to set something up where y'all can at least figure out what your rights are.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, next, you can come on. You're good.
Make an entrance. Hi, I'm Sandy Wright Gunnels. I actually submitted 2 questions, but I'll read this one.
Okay.
What is being done to mitigate the rate of puppies being infected with parvo while at Columbus Animal Control? It's not just about puppies dying anymore. Many of our citizens are being hurt financially and emotionally when a puppy that they just adopted breaks with parvo. The most recent puppy was adopted on Saturday, broke on Sunday,
Romeo.
and so far the adopters are out about $3,000 at Auburn. So, and we can tell that they've been infected at CAC because of, you can see the date that they were entered into CAC, and you can see the day they broke. There's no question they're being infected
And
at
that may
CAC.
be the one that I forwarded just today to try to look into and figure out what happened. So, Kenita, you want to take that?
Certainly. So your question was, what are we doing at Animal Control to mitigate the parvo? Well, let me first start off by saying this is parvo season. And just like for humans, there is flu season, there's also a parvo season. And that is not coming from me, that is coming from our veterinarian. So in his words, what we do is, as far as the cleanliness of the facility, we're constantly doing those things. As far as the protocols are concerned, they've already, and for those of you that don't know, the Department of Agriculture has already come and done their inspection for this year to make sure that we are following those protocols. So the things that I'm saying to you is not what I'm guessing. These are the things that have been, we're doing those on the day-to-day basis, and it has been confirmed by those that we are governed by. As far as what we're taking precautionary measures to do is, one, we're trying to make sure that we're limiting how our people that are coming in to visit our puppies are interacting with our animals. And what I mean by that is there are signs plastered all over the building that state, please do not touch any of the animals as you're walking through. And the reason why is because parvo is easily transmitted from your skin, your clothes, and any other surfaces around. So one of the things we want to do is make sure that our patrons coming in are following those guidelines. As a facility, we scrub every day. Now, upon impoundment, animals are being vaccinated, and what we're finding, and this is per my veterinarian, and let me also state this, I'm not a veterinarian, I'm not going to even claim to be, but what happens is there's an incubation period. And before I go into that, understand that Columbus Animal Care and Control is ground zero. We do not have an option of selecting the animals that come through our doors. We have to take every animal that comes in, and when they come in, we don't know what they have. What we can tell you is what we've done for them while they're there. And they have been vaccinated under the knowing that in a 2 to 14-day incubation period from when we vaccinate, there is a possibility that the animal may break for parvo. So we're taking all the precautionary measures we can to ensure that those animals are being well taken care of while they're there, that we're cleaning their kennels as we are required to do so by the Department of Agriculture. One last thing. When those animals are out for those off-sites, one of the things that we share with every adopter is, one, we do not guarantee the health or the breed of that animal because we cannot. Two, we also tell them to please take that animal to a veterinarian to be looked at, to make sure whatever vaccinations that they've been given, any other protocols that they need to follow by that veterinarian. Just here recently, we had a gentleman that adopted a baby from us. He did what we asked, took that animal to his veterinarian. It passed, no parvo, nothing. And within 4 days, it broke with parvo and it passed. So, and he called us and he says, I did exactly as you asked me to do. The baby didn't have any parvo or any of that, and then 4 days later it did. So, again, we're doing all that we can to ensure that when we are adopting out, we're providing all of those adopters with all of the information that we have about that animal, also explaining that there are no guarantees because we don't know. what you will find is, and I'm glad that you brought that up. So, as in recent history, in December, we had to change our protocols on vaccinating every animal that comes to the door on immediately. One of the reasons why is because there was quite the number of questions, speculations, and accusations that we were vaccinating animals and we weren't doing so properly or within the mandates. So, under the leadership of our veterinarian, all animals are vaccinated by the veterinarian when he comes in. Keep it in mind, all animals are vaccinated on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So, with that being the case, if an animal comes in on Monday night, it may not get vaccinated until Wednesday when our veterinarian is in the office. That was not for me to change. That was actually changed by Dr. Hall, who is our veterinarian. That is a question for him. It's his licensure. So because we are under his license, we go by his recommendations.
Thank you for the questions. Anybody else? Ladies first.
Good evening, everyone. My question is, so I am a veteran, and there is something called the Vector Center that is in Warner Robins. It's an excellent center. It's an excellent resource center for veterans to go to. It is my understanding that Vector Center is supposed to be coming to Columbus, Georgia. Am I correct in that? And if so, how can I find more information about that? So it's a Veterans Education Career Center. It's a joint venture between Georgia Veterans Services, I believe, and the community college there. And I think they're bringing it here for technical training, correct?
Yep.
Where can I find information on that and the progress?
Well,
of
first of
that?
all, thank you for your service. And secondly, you can, Columbus Technical College is starting a lot of the programs. And I'm looking at my chief of staff nodding, telling me what to say. He's retired military too. So before you leave, if you'll give us your information, we'll put you in touch with the people so that you can learn a little bit more about what's coming in Columbus.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Rocky?
Sir, good evening. Thank you. Sir, on behalf of a few of the local groups, fraternities, mentorship groups, we're looking to get early engaged in keeping youth engaged during the summer. Last year, the summer program did really well, so much so that I'm starting to get early phone calls about from different organizations wanting to know, is it still returning for this year? If so, has it been made available? People already want to plan to have their kids engaged, sign up for this summer.
Yeah, you're talking about the Mayor's Summer Youth Employment Program?
That's correct.
Yeah, we have committed to that, and even during the COVID year, we refused to be another casualty, so we ended up with about 20 kids, and then it dropped to about 14 the next year. Last year, we had 83 kids that went through this program, and this year our goal is to serve about 125. And what this does is it allows us to hire young people, typically in the what they call the disengaged youth. It's between 16 and 24, and if you ask them where they're going to school or what they do as far as a job, they can't answer either question. So we are trying to give them an alternative, let them know that you can earn a living in ways other than being on the streets and causing trouble and getting in trouble. So we are working with the Urban League, and we will probably open the registration here fairly shortly. We take about half of each day and we go over soft skills, teach them things like, how to diffuse work site conflicts, some of them don't know how to take supervision. And then we spend the second half of the day paying them about $14 an hour to do various jobs. We're actually looking to expand into the our corporate partners this year. Because a lot of them are interested in technology. They may not have gone to school and studied it the way they should, but they can probably take a phone apart and put it back together in 30 seconds. So we are going to get it started. You'll see more information coming out about that probably just within the next couple of weeks. But we're meeting right now trying to put the program back together.
Thanks, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Broadwater Senior,
Good
welcome.
evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I am Marvin Broadwater Senior. And I wasn't going to ask any questions tonight, but where's that young lady at that asked about? Yes, thank you for that. And I've asked constantly, I even asked your predecessor, if you remember, we should have a military liaison on the city staff. I did not realize until yesterday that there are 30,000 veterans in this area. 30,000, that's a lot. And I've often come to city council saying, hey, you know, Augusta, and you go to Augusta, they set it out for the veterans. You know, they have parking everywhere for veterans. They got a sign up. If you're a veteran, park right here. It's just like disabled parking. But I would ask you, you've done a fabulous job, in my opinion. I know you had some challenges. But I would ask you again, because I asked you when you were running, campaigning, that I think it's time for this community, because you have developed a great relationship with Fort Moore. And to continue that, to keep veterans here, I would ask, Mr. Mayor, that before you leave, you got a lot of veterans out there. Some of them will work, volunteer their services. But I think that we don't need to send them to Warner Robins. We don't need to let them go to Augusta or even Fort Mitchell. They need to stay right here in Columbus, because that creates a lot of revenue for us. So, but when you got 30,000, that's a lot. And I think that we should just consider that before you leave office, sir. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Broadwater. And you're right. And you have been consistent about asking. And we are in budget session right now, and maybe there's a way to come up with a stipend to pay somebody part-time to try to help focus on that. As again, Mr. Beard here, retired military, he does a pretty good job of keeping that connection going. So thank you. We will follow up. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Mayor and everyone. My name is Royal Anderson, and I'm currently running for Muskogee County Coroner. And my question this evening is, how do you feel about the county coroner being a partisan position? We have to say whether we're Democrat, Republican, or independent. And all the county coroner do is take care of the community, whereas the city councilors and the school board do not have to say what their values are. Because when you say Democrat or Republican,
Right.
you're saying what your values are.
Yep. Well, I appreciate the question. You may not like my answer. This is my opinion. I think every local office, every local race should be nonpartisan. I think that way you vote for the person that you think is going to do the best wherever you live, because when you get to local service, I don't care whether it's sheriff, counselor, or coroner, you're there to serve those people in your community or your district. So anyway, you asked my opinion, that's my opinion.
So in reference to the county coroner, you feel like it should be nonpartisan?
Absolutely, I do.
I do too.
I'll leave that up to you as whether or not it should be. And speaking of, I want to mention Councilor Kogel has joined us tonight. She's Columbus City Councilor. So, ma'am, thank you so much, and thank you for being willing to offer yourself for public service.
Hello, my name is Deidre Spencer, and I have a question that I don't know. We don't try to overlook anyone, but I noticed there are so many handicapped kids here, and I don't see nothing here in Columbus to cater to them, and I speak from experience. I have two granddaughters. God bless us. They both have cerebral palsy. They're twins. They just turned 29, so they did something nobody could do. God wasn't ready for them. But we would like to engage them in something. We know they love music. They're not stupid by far. You know, we just, not only just mine, I'm sure a lot of people go through this, and just have something to entertain handicapped kids with, because I love to be a part of that.
No, I appreciate you bringing that up. We do hear that from time to time, and it's a real tragedy with the adults who are having developmental challenges, because there are some things for disabled children, but there's just not much to do for adults who suffer some kind of disability. And I know the Parks and Recreation has a therapeutic rec center that has been in operation for a number of years, trying to fill some of those gaps. But we also have an organization. It's a commission on persons with disabilities, and I'll get you some information on that. We have not hit our stride the last couple of years, but it is focused on making sure that there's some transportation for people who are mobility challenged, that there are some other activities that can be put in place. You know, and again, we were talking about the young people. Easter Seals is a tremendous resource for this community, but it is hard as you end up with your children aging into adulthood, still dealing with some of those challenges. So, you know, the bottom line is we don't do as good a job as we could. But I think most of those solutions need to be driven by philanthropic organizations or for private organizations. But I'll try to get you some information on that organization.
As a sister of someone with Down syndrome, I offer a lot of volunteer hours with the Special Olympics, and I think that would be something worth looking into getting here in Columbus to involve that community a little bit more. I can reach out to some of my partners that I have in other places if that would be something that you're interested in doing.
I think that'd be great. Our police department and our law enforcement work very closely with Special Olympics. They've got a torch run, they do a bike rodeo, and they do a few other things to try to raise money for Special Olympics. And you know, there are resources, because if the disability is somebody's somewhere on the spectrum, the autism spectrum, I think it's tech getting older. It just left me. Diane Pope runs it. It's an autism center here that does some incredible work as well. Thank you, the Hope Center. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening,
Mayor. My name is Denise Ellis, and I am representing, as a board member, the organization called Melanated Pearl. And we've got a property here in Columbus that we're looking to develop, and our goal is to help people who are unhoused. So housing is a big part of what the Melanated Pearl does, and right now, I haven't been able to get much help from the churches. I understand there are 438 churches in Columbus, and now I'm reaching out to the general population, because what we'd like to do is provide something called Empower Showers. So this gives people who are unhoused an opportunity to have a 15-minute hot shower with a mobile shower unit. And Melanated Pearl is an organization that's in Atlanta, in Clayton County, and the founder is Crystal Perry, who is from Columbus. And she's interested in developing Melanated Pearl here to help fill in the gaps, as on the same theme of the gaps that we're seeing of people who are underserved, and particularly the veterans, the female veterans with children that are experiencing housing crisis. And I'm looking for the support of the city, as well as I want to make the announcement that we're here. We're coming here, and we're taking names.
Good for you. And I'll give you a name to take so that you can reach out to them. The United Way houses an organization called Home for Good.
Pat Frey.
Pat Frey. Pat is my go-to. Anytime I run into somebody who's housing insecure or is one paycheck away, really, from being homeless, we try to send them to her. Thank you for what you're doing. Glad you're in Columbus.
All right, thank you. Well, we're bringing a mobile shower unit down here, so we'll be able to set up in different locations and offer it to the people of the community. So,
Well, that's
thank you.
terrific. Thank you.
I have a follow-up question
Okay.
to my earlier one. Apparently, Ms. Johnson's not well-versed in the Georgia code, but is
Well, let's
over-
now ask you a question. We're not here to,
Okay.
Okay.
Let me read you the code after what Ms. Johnson said about animals are only going to be vaccinated on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And I have a question because Dr. Hall
Sure.
frequently goes on one-week-long cruises, et cetera. What happens on that week? But Georgia Code 6.4.4. Sorry,
Yeah, and-
nobody's ever told me I didn't talk loud enough before, so I apologize. Vaccine schedules, adult animals must, didn't say should be, we suggest, whatever, must be vaccinated with core vaccines at or before intake.
okay, thank you. You want to, I mean, I don't question that, do you? Ally? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Allie Johnson, and I wanted to ask, compare us to a couple other cities, peer cities, if you will, around Georgia, Alabama. For example, the city of Savannah, Chatham County Animal Services, they have a director of veterinary medicine as the director of their shelter, and a very nice man. I've spoken with him, asked him about deworming protocols, which they do for all of the animals there. He told me for their most basic dewormer, it costs a couple $100s a year, and you just put it on their food. It's very easy. I tried to see about getting that done here and was told, no, can't be done. Mobile, Alabama, they have all the animals that you adopt from there are spayed and neutered, they're microchipped, they're heartworm tested. If they do have heartworms, the shelter pays for their heartworm treatment once they go to their adoptive home. Fully vaccinated, I'm probably forgetting something there, but they do the whole slate of services. And so they're all cities that are about, similar to us in terms of population. And for the whole 10, 11 years that I've lived here, it's been the same here. And I'm just wondering, why is the answer here so often, no, we can't, instead of yes, we can, if the intention is to do amazing? Why can't we not only be on par with these other cities, but surpass them and have a wonderful modern animal shelter? And I'm asking that of the city leaders, city council, mayor, not so much the management, but if they want to chime in.
Right, and I appreciate you doing that and saying that, because it does rest with the elected officials, with us, to try to find the funding to be able to achieve that. I can tell you that I know I'll get some comments, but our staff works very hard. They absolutely care about the health of the animals and trying to get them done. Sometimes it's a resource issue, but that's not a good answer. That just means we need to try to find a way to get to those resources. And I know we talked to to Ms. Short just today, and she was talking about our goal is to have every animal that leaves there microchipped. And we do need to try to, and I know Councilor Begley, I know Councilor Kogel, and a few others have been adamant about trying to follow up with some opportunities. We can get better, but it is going to take the legislative side to try to help the administrative side do that. Sure you can. I agree. Well, and we need to check into, there's got to be some other reason that we're not doing that, but we will check into it. Okay, well, I appreciate it. Yes, ma'am.
Hello, Mr. Mayor, ladies and gentlemen. Firstly, I'd like to introduce you to Doug and Amriel. They both came from the same house, murdered by their owner. One wasn't able to be proved, but the other one was. Firstly, CPD, Animal Control have been absolutely amazing in trying to get justice for both dogs. My question is, as far as animal abuse goes, the last lieutenant that was here when we were trying to fight an abuse case told us that we had to have video proof and picture proof of what was going on, not just our word. But then he turned around and said, but you can't take video and picture in their yard. How are we supposed to get proof of this happening so that we can get justice for the voiceless?
Well, I appreciate your question. And again, in talking during budget hearings today. Excuse me, we did talk to Ms. Short, and they're asking for an investigator just for animal cruelty. So again, that's a question that council and the legislative side will deal with. We are understaffed, and that's not an excuse. That's the fact. We've got to try to get some resources put towards the officers that are out on the street. So the administrative folks are doing everything they can. We just need to try to get. And I agree with you. It drives me nuts when somebody abuses any creature that is looking to them for nothing more than affection. So I understand. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Can we ask 2 questions?
You can ask 2, as long as
Okay.
they're not both 40 minutes long.
No, sir. The first question is, do we have any projected date for the time when our Parks and Recreation will have enough budget to repair and open all of our neighborhood parks? Because I know this gentleman I think he told me he's working on the crime prevention program, and I really believe that's an integral part to solving our crime prevention issue. That's the first question.
Okay.
The second question is, I'd like to know, and I don't want to be confrontational, but I'd like to know why the citizens' rights, the restriction on South Commons was removed without any notice to the public. If you could just answer that for me, it would help me enormously.
Well, we'll take the second one first. We actually did go to council, and
Yes,
we
sir.
asked for their permission, and they voted to remove a stipulation that said that the adjacent property had to be used for recreation.
That's right.
And at the time, we were approached to talk to a group about the potential of an economic development opportunity that was platformed on a baseball platform. And we needed to know whether we could even talk to them about it, because if we couldn't get that cleaned up, and it was something that had been in the deed for hundreds of years. So yeah, we asked council to allow us to take it back to our delegation, and they got it
My question was,
passed.
why didn't you talk with the citizens about that?
Well,
Because that was-
unfortunately, I'll tell you, my personal belief is that your counselors are elected because you like the way they think. You like their morals, you like everything about them, and you count on them to exercise their judgment on your behalf. Now, when we do have some major issues, we put it on a referendum to make sure that we're getting the input of all of the citizens. But there are decisions that these folks make every single week.
Yeah.
And not every one of them goes before the public. It does in the sense that it goes before their representatives, and they're the ones that help make that decision.
But that one required a special election by a 2/3 vote. That's different.
That was to
That
clean
was the
that up. So,
restriction.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and
and that
the
was,
other-
that was a 2/3 vote, I think, by the House and by the Senate.
I'm sorry?
I think it was by the House and by the Senate that 2/3 vote applied.
Well, it required, as I read it, and I've got it here, as I read it, it said that the city could not make any changes to either the use or the development. It had to be parks and recreation only.
That's right.
And it could not be changed except by a special election of the registered voters in Columbus, Georgia, and it had to pass by a 2/3 vote.
That's incorrect. That's incorrect.
what it
Well, and
says.
all I can tell you is that was the first step in the process to put us in a position to be able to have the conversations with the organization bringing baseball in.
Okay.
And it's been voted on. It's
So
been
what
done.
is the other question about when will all of our
We str-
neighborhood parks, is
We
there a
struggle.
timeframe?
We struggle trying to get enough resources for our parks and recreation. Now, I can tell you that this year we're doing something different that I haven't seen done before. Council is putting some money out there that people can almost apply for as a grant if they've done some work on some of the baseball fields. I coached my kids for a total of 8 years, and we had work days. We would meet and we would do all of the things that we needed to do. If we needed to paint a dugout, we raised the money and we painted the dugout. We've got some situations now where some of the leagues apparently did not have the resources. So council did what I think is a great thing. They made available to these organizations some funding so that they can do some of the simple repairs. But we've got to continue to try to provide the resources to our Parks and Rec folks, because our biggest challenge right now is personnel, trying to get people out there that can take care of it. Now, fortunately, during the organized sports seasons, the parents and the leagues and the teams, they all pitch in, and there's a partnership. In exchange for not paying a rent for using the fields, they take care of them. And it's kind of the way it's always, well, I say always, going back to the time, 30 years ago, that's how it was done up to today. So, but I appreciate your question.
We used to have neighborhood centers that were staffed.
We had neighborhood rec centers and we had neighborhood pools. And years ago, I think the cost to keep them up became overwhelming, so they went to super centers.
Yeah.
And those are great, but they're not convenient to a lot of the kids. Some of them have transportation issues.
That's right.
So I know this year council was adamant about trying to put something in some of the neighborhoods that would help to create a little sense of community again.
Is
So
there any plan to restore those ever?
we do have some of them that have come back. I know a couple of the rec centers that we have been able to re-envision. Some of the counselors have come forward, and we've tried to get them up and operational. But again, the challenge is the personnel.
To that question, and the Parks and Rec director is back there, and we are in the budget process as we speak. And I think she mentioned the other day that you are down 60 employees, full-time employees today than, I guess 15, 20 years ago. Your workforce has been reduced by 60. And so she has submitted a budget request, and we'd like to honor that budget request this year. And in her budget request, I was alarmed when I saw it, but it makes sense. She has asked for about 55 full-time employees, about 55, and lots of capital.
Mm-hmm.
And as we go through this budget process, we will likely shock the members of council, because we heard from them saying they want more for Parks and Rec. And so we're going to go as far as we can go in her request for more than 50 full-time employees. And if we are able to be successful with that, we can get to some of the things that you're talking about that we used to have. We would be headed back in the right direction. And it's not because she has not asked, it's been because of fiscal constraints. And so we want to try and move in the right direction in this budget process to get back to where you're talking.
I really am, I could be wrong, but I believe in my heart that whatever she's requested for her budget would reduce what we spend on crime. I
think you're right. It's a part of it. I know a couple years ago, we went and met with some ex-gang members, guys that had been in prison. And they said the thing that kept them out of jail as long as it did was the neighborhood rec centers. But even more important than the rec center as just a building that people go to, it took the right programmers. It took the right person who had the respect of the kids, who would sit them down if they weren't behaving right, but at the same time would not leave that center until that child's parent came to get them.
So that's not a cost, that's an asset.
You're right.
It reduces a liability.
Oh, you're right. And we're looking at, I know the pools are to be, 3 of the pools are to be put back in operation at some point during the summer. And we've also we're putting splash pads in neighborhoods that are not as high maintenance. You don't have to hire lifeguards, which we have trouble with. But it still provides a water experience for the kids. So So we agree with you. There's a way to, all of these things combine to help make our police chief and sheriff's job a little bit easier.
Please give her the money she needs.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Okay, here's my other 8 pages.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to go ahead and read my pickleball question,
Okay.
just to open up the topic.
Yes, sir.
So pickleball is the fastest growing sport in almost the world. We didn't make the 28 Olympics, but we're hoping for 32. Columbus, as you know, has 0 permanent pickleball courts. We have rec centers 2 or 3 hours a day here, 2 or 3 hours a day during the middle of the day when, you know, people that work can't attend there. Cooper Creek has courts, but they're taped courts. We have 0 permanent courts. Northside Rec Center is amazing. The other day at Northside Rec Center, we had 39 people show up for 2 courts. Multiple people left in frustration because it was too long, and it only lasted 3 hours, 11 to 2. I mean, everything else is basketball and, you know, basketball. So we need permanent courts. I know there's a project coming out, but that's $6 million, and who knows when that money's going to be available, and that's going to be a private facility. We need public facilities that are open 24 hours a day, like Opelika, like Noonan. We need facilities to play.
Yeah, and I'm going to ask Deputy City Manager Hodge, but we actually have in the works with the SPLOST money, there's going to be some open courts at Cooper Creek. There's also been an individual that's made a private donation in exchange for putting those courts there. So you will have that new private facility that's a partnership. The city council invested $1.7 million in that, and the Pickleball Association has an incredible campaign moving right now. They're really starting to gain some steam, and they're working right now. There's nothing signed, but the intent, I think, is to put it where the Waterworks Park is. So I'm gonna let Deputy City Manager Hodge.
So there really are 2 efforts that are going on right now for pickleball. So the first one is at Cooper Creek Park. This was a specific item in the SPLOST referendum. There's $1.5 million that's been allocated to that. Plus there is a private donation that was made for pickleball at Cooper Creek. We are under design with our consultant. Barge is working on the design for those courts. We have the funding. It's probably going to be 12 to 20 courts that will be at Cooper Creek, and we'll have some parking assigned as you go into Cooper Creek Park. The second project that we've been working on for a while now is with the Pickleball Association. They are looking at partnering with the city, and as the mayor mentioned, City Council authorized $1.7 million. The Pickleball Association has currently raised commitments of over $1.1 million. Their project total is about $6 million, so we're working on really 3 things related to that project. One is the location. It's over infrastructure that is maintained by the Waterworks, so we're working on how we can work out a lease agreement. We're also working with them on the MOU on how the facility will operate. It will be a city-owned public facility that will allow the city to manage it, but Pickleball Association will run tournaments and events out of that facility. So there's kind of multiple things working on that particular project. So we have 2 pickleball, and we hear that all the time about how many people are really interested in pickleball and how it has been really expanded, like you said, in Opelika and Noonan, and we're working to bring that to Columbus. Yes, they will be permanent specifically for pickleball. And we do not have a timeline from our consultants yet, but we will put in as many courts as we can with the funding that we have. Yes, sir.
Thanks, and it takes care of like 4 pages questions. And listen, it is amazing that pickleball has become such an incredible sport for all ages. I mean, I've seen it televised, and I promise if I ever get any spare time, I may try pickleball. So we'll do it. Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Mayor, public. My name is Juanita Taylor. I'm with the Concerned Citizen Organization. And we wanted to know what the emphasis on opening the parks for this year. Last year we was promised especially over in Region Park, Oakland Park, that the pool was gonna be open. Come to find out when school was out, no pool, said no money to revitalize the pool, so the children have somewhere to go during that period. And I don't think the children in Oakland Park, that's the only one I can speak for personally, will have a problem getting to the park once it's open. And Winston, Shirley B. Winston is another one. The parks are deplorable condition, fallen trees, piles of brush and debris. Mind you, Britt Davis Park is very, very maintained. So what's the difference between that area of town and another area of town? And I'm not putting it on no south, north, or whatever, area of town. That's what I said. And one other thing.
Yep. When
something big is going on, like the Golden Park, I believe, this is my personal opinion, okay, that you and the city councils should have brought it to the forefront for the public instead of leaving us in the dark and you getting up there before everybody voting on it, okay? We are humans. We're not robots.
Yes, ma'am.
Are we? No. So please consider that in the future. I certainly will appreciate it. I'm sure the citizens would too.
We will do that. Thank you for your questions, your comments, and I'll try to answer them. I can promise you that, well, I'm not gonna say, we could not announce the baseball piece. And again, this is from my perspective, and I think the perspective of a lot of people in the community. It's a baseball field that's not about baseball. It's about the economic development opportunities that are going to be taking place as a result of the baseball field going in. The challenge was we had an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement that we were under with the individuals that were bringing the baseball team out. So we didn't have the ability to share. We kept council abreast of every change, every step along the way, but we could not let the public know. And I promise you that was not the way that, certainly council didn't want to do it, but that's not the way we wanted to do it either. We didn't have any choice. We had two choices. One is just say thanks, but no thanks to the opportunity, presenting it to council for them to make a decision. The other option was, if we want to have a choice and a chance, then we need to try to follow the rules of the people that we're dealing with. And so that was it. I would have much rather had it out in front the entire time and let folks know about it. The pools will be open this summer at some point. Now, I can tell you, I can't remember the order, but there'll be one that's not going to be open till the tail end of the swimming season, and that's more a result of the construction company trying to get everything done so they can move on to the next. Ma'am?
So the order that the pools will be open in, so Rigdon will be completed first, then Shirley Winston, then Salmon Road, and it's just the timing of the construction. They're going from one to the next, so when they get done with this phase, they'll move to Shirley Winston and then Salmon. So by the end of the summer, all three will be open, but the first one will be Rigdon, then Shirley Winston, and then Salmon Road.
And I'm going to ask the city manager to comment on one, because I know this is something he's passionate about. We do not take care of some parts of the community and not take care of others. And he puts it better than I do. I'm going to let him mention it.
Well, and I hear that, on a regular basis. And, if we have employees, department heads, who would treat one area of the community differently than the other, as the city manager, I have a problem with that. And, I know Shirley, I live on Steam Mill Road. In fact, I drove up, when I went home for lunch, I drove up to Shirley Winston just to drive through. I drive through because I know they're doing the pool. And so you know, and people will tell me on the south side, they do this, and on the north side, they do that. Well, I live on the south side. And, you know, it would be something if I live on the south side and I control the staff. You know, Parks and Rec director, Public Works director, they report to the deputy city manager, but ultimately they report to me. And so I would allow them to do more on one side on the other side of town where I don't live, and treat my side where I live like crap. That's just not going to happen. And so when I hear that, it disturbs me that someone would look me in my face, and I live at 40. Well, I started to give my address, but we're live. But I live on Steam Mill Road. My wife owns a business on St. Mary's Road. State Farm Insurance corner. We do business in South Columbus. I live in South Columbus. My family lives in South Columbus. I'm not going to do more for someone else than I do for myself. It's self-preservation first, if anything. And so I just like to be clear that when I hear that, it disturbs me. It really does. And so all of those people, and I've said to them before, you know, I preach it all the time. In fact, I was preaching it to you yesterday, right? We're not doing more for one than we do for the other. That's not going to happen, not while I'm city manager. And so we're going to treat our entire community equally, and I insist on that. I demand that. And so it bothers me when I hear that.
But I will say this, if there is brush in a park and you see it and it's been there more than a day, you need to call 311 because we need to get out there and get it. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for tonight, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, ma'am.
So my name is Sarah Smith, and I have a couple of questions.
Okay.
Hopefully they're short answer ones, but they are loaded, so get ready.
Okay.
So will the $50 million Golden Park renovation, if the bonds aren't secured, will it fall back on the taxpayer?
No.
Okay.
No, the bonds will be sold, I think, next Tuesday. And so, no.
So bonds will be sold next Tuesday.
Right.
And so according to the revenue that we receive from the Golden Park Games, that funds are supposed to fund the actual project, I'm guessing?
No, that takes care of the renovations to the ball field because it has to be brought up to Major League standards. There'll be an RFP that goes out. We don't know who the developers are going to be, but there will be an opportunity for developers to submit a proposal on the private investment side, and that'll all be done by private companies, not by the government.
And then the bonds are supposed to pay them?
No, the bonds pay for the work to bring the stadium up to the standards that are required for Major League Baseball.
Okay, and then
So it doesn't go to anybody except the builder who's doing all the work.
So are the bonds loans then? And then those bonds have to be repaid?
Yes, the bonds do have to be repaid.
Yes, and who's paying those, and who will it fall on?
City of Columbus issued the bonds, and we pay back the bonds.
The City of Columbus?
That's correct.
AKA the taxpayer, right?
The tax, that's right.
It's exactly what you said. That's what
Yeah,
I
you
that's
and
the
me.
question.
If you live in Columbus, I do live in Columbus.
Yeah,
so
I
we-
do.
you
I
and
do. So, okay, second question is, and I guess this is for the Chief of Police. Get ready, Mr. Mathis, because this is for you. Okay. Yes, sir. Okay, so it says, first, this is a question that's a simple yes or no question. Are you aware that crime prevention is the role of the county sheriff according to the city charter? No. Okay, so if we read the OCGA, I don't know the specific numbers, but crime prevention is the role of the county sheriff. And so I was going to ask you, knowing this bit of information, what measures, what steps have you as the current chief of police made with the current county sheriff in tackling crime prevention and gangs in Columbus?
And while he's coming up, I'll tell you that in Columbus, because we're a consolidated government, we still have a police department historically, the sheriff he's he's constitutional officer. He's the highest elected officer in the county.
Yes.
But the roles are such that his primary responsibility is the jail and the courts.
And crime
The
prevention.
jail and the courts.
And, yes.
Traditionally, no, the policing has been done, at least for the last 30 years of my experience, has been done by the police department. Sheriff's department does an amazing job, and they do help. They do provide assistance. But every 911 call is dispatched to the police department.
Of course, yes.
Every response is from the police department. Every open investigation is begun by the police department.
Yes.
So and that's just how
Well,
it's.
I'm specifically speaking on crime prevention. So like
Right,
as we see,
crime prevention, you talk about like programs to.
like plans, tactics, goals to prevent the actual gang activity happening in Columbus that kind of puts a stop to the crimes that are actually occurring. And especially in the South
think-
Side. So like, I mean, that's what I was
Yeah,
wondering.
we'll let the chief, and then I'll
Thank
be
you.
happy to talk with you later, because I think we see things a little differently.
Yes, sir.
Well, I think the OCGA she's looking at, Mayor, says that the sheriff is for the county, where Columbus and Muskogee County is consolidated, so it's a little bit different here, voted by the legislature. So the sheriff and I work very closely together. He's got a gang unit, I got a gang unit, and they work together to do the things that it takes to tackle the gang problem. And I don't know if you've noticed this over the last 10 or 11 months. Me and the sheriff have been to several places talking about the things that we are doing together. The things that we do together, we fight the gang problem. We also have a narcotics unit that we fight the drug problem. But my contention is the gangs and the drugs are the same problem. So we're putting together strategic plans to fight that. But the things that I've done since I've been here, and you guys, I hope you've seen more police on the street. Since I've been here in the city of Columbus, we've hired about almost 100 more police officers on the street in the last 11 months. Now, having said that, I've changed up some schedules to also put more police officers on the street. We went to a 12-hour shift. Also, I went through the police department that over maybe the last, 15, 20 years, they started having certified police officers in administrative positions. I found 12 of them that needed to be back on the street, so we put them officers back on the street to handle calls. So we're almost to the point, and I know you guys probably have seen on the news where I went to council and the city manager asked to eliminate 44 positions to give my police officers a pay raise. So they did that. I'm allocated 488 police officers, so I've given away 44. We will be fully staffed by about midsummer. So we're going to have additional police officers. Right now, we got 30 people starting the academy April 1st. I have 18 police officers graduating the academy on tomorrow, and we're going to continue to put police officers on the street. We're going to continue to fight the gang problem. I have a gang unit, I have a drug unit, and I have a thing called a tactical unit. But what I'm also starting is a program called the COPS unit. And I'm going to have 4 officers in that unit because now you might not, but if some of the other people in here, because you're young, would call the police and say, hey, I never see the police in my area, and I've got all these cars flying through my neighborhood, they got the loud mufflers. By the time those cops get out there, a lot of you people are already in bed because it's about 8:30, 9, 10 o'clock. I didn't look at y'all. I was looking way back there.
Criminal.
But so what I'm starting this unit is they're going out there doing the daytime to make contact with the people that go to bed at 8:30, 9 o'clock. So they're going to be making contact with them, getting their information, getting information from them, building that relationship. So then they're going to pass that information on to the police officer to come in there in the evening. So I'm trying to tackle it both ways.
Well, I would say thank you for all of your efforts. I feel like you are overworking because according to the city charter, that it's really supposed to be the job of the sheriff to come up with a crime prevention plan. But I thank you for all that you're doing because we do need a safer Columbus for sure. I don't believe that we can just arrest our way out of this, that we need a plan that's foolproof, and especially on areas that is like the South Side, that where we see high gang activities and people being killed or shot, like those should be our target spots. So my last question and this one is for you, Mr. Mayor. So I, I will say that I've moved back to Columbus in 2018. I've been here since 2001. I moved back in 2016, not 2018. And I will ask you this question, and I hope you can give me a truthful answer. Do you believe that in the past 5 years, city amenities and city, I guess amenities is the best word, has decreased for the citizens of Columbus? Do you feel like it has?
Yeah, no, I do not. I think that there are some areas that we have that need some attention, that we've got to revitalize and try to bring back up. But I think as far as trying to create opportunities for people to have things to do, I think that's increased. And I do think that, I mean, I tell people when they ask me particularly about the crime, we have pockets, we have areas of our community that it's not safe. And there are people that have lived in their houses for 40 years and they're almost prisoners because they don't want to go out as soon as the sun goes down. We're extremely lucky that we've got 2 different law enforcement agencies that are working together, as the chief pointed out, to try to do everything humanly possible to try to make those areas safer than they are right now. But you said something that I agree wholeheartedly with. We can't arrest our way out of some of this gang issues. We can't arrest our way out of the drug issues. We can't arrest our way out of 15-year-olds walking around with guns in their back pocket. That's not what's going to do it. What's going to do it is people like this gentleman here, Seth Brown, that his group, his board gives out grants to grassroots organizations that have as their primary focus reducing and preventing crime. So I'm really proud of this community. It didn't start with me, for sure, but it's been going a while. Our city has always taken the approach that we have to try to prevent it and not just enforce it, right? So one thing our sheriff has a really difficult time with, because of all of the crime that had happened years past, the jail's almost full. Jail's old and out of date. And he's been able to manage that entire situation. But we've got to get every piece of the legal field involved, because you've got to get the courts working to get people through the system and get them back on, either in jail or on the street if they're not guilty. And then we've got to continue to be able to put people in jail. Right now, we've got folks that we end up giving a principal summons, like a ticket, because it's overcrowded in the jail.
Yeah,
so I agree with what you're saying. 100%.
Yeah, and I guess like the last question in regards to the jail, it's in terrible condition right now, and people are dying. And my biggest thing with all these questions is the quality of life for the citizens of Columbus, for one, and for two, results that we all can be proud of. And that's what I think is lacking. And I personally would disagree with you, Mr. Mayor, that I feel like the quality of life has decreased in Columbus, and it's not the same. I think anybody who would tell you would feel that Columbus is not a safer, fun place. We can't go to pools. We can't, walk to the gas station. And I think that that's where we need the revision. But thank you for your time.
Well, I appreciate your thoughts. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I'm back to talk about the pools,
Yes, ma'am.
because there's a disproportionate number of people of color who die because they don't know how to swim. And so as we talk about opening up these pools, I'd like to know, is there something in place, or can we get something in place for swimming lessons and to get more of a comfort level with swimming? Because if we open the pools and nobody knows how to swim, that's a disaster waiting to happen. But I was under the understanding that the pools were to open in March and the money had been allocated for them. And now I hear that there's going to be a delay and that it's not going to happen until the end of the summer, which I think is horrible. Right. I'm from Minnesota, and so to me, not having pools open in a place where it's hot as hockey sticks, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And so without the pools being open, what about the splash pads? Because they're easier to get going. And there is one at Shirley B. Winston, and can we get these things going sooner than that?
We are trying, I think we do plan to try to get some of the splash pads put in this year. And I don't think it's a money issue that's slowing down the pools. It's the contractor and being able to finish up one and move to the next. With regards to the swimming lessons, I don't know where Holly is, but I think we provide swimming lessons. Our lifeguards do. In fact, they're going on now probably. It's year-round right over the natatorium. So there is, and there's also an organization called Safe Kids that does fittings for flotation devices and also deals with ways to encourage children to be safer. But I'm hoping that we'll hold that Salmon Road is the last one done, I guess. And we're hoping, because it stays so hot here, even in the Indian summer, I guess they call it, that we'll be able to keep it open a little bit longer. The challenge for us is making sure we've got lifeguards that can staff it. But yeah, we're going to get them up and done. And most of these pools they're all a little different. They've all got like a theme, and they've got almost like a water park. So there is a deep area for like a slide or something. But then the rest of it is designed so that younger kids can get in there and with some supervision and play safely in the shallow end too, because it's really shallow.
Well, I agree that crime prevention, helping young people have something to do and keeping them occupied is what cuts down on crime.
Yes, ma'am.
And we can't arrest our way out of it. And I would just like to offer the police department the opportunity to laugh together. So I would like to see Republicans and Democrats laughing together in a controlled situation. I teach laughter yoga, and we laugh out loud for no reason. And I would like to see officers who are stressed by all the things that they do have a time to come together and laugh together. And I would be willing to facilitate that.
I may join them. So that's thank you. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
My second question, it's not 7:30 yet. You still
No.
got
I'm
me.
just checking.
Is, why has CAC again stopped using sedation prior to euthanizing, killing animals?
I have no idea. So can you answer that?
So, I can't remember the actual council meeting, but Dr. Hall actually answered that question. And his answer was that tranquilization is not a requirement.
No,
It
it's
is
not a requirement.
It is an option. And it is at his discretion of when tranquilization will take place.
So you're going days and days with nobody needing tranquilization?
Again, we are under Dr. Hall's licensure. And whatever it is that he decides to do with respect to that is what we have to abide by. We don't have.
Then you need a more compassionate veterinarian.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
It's me again.
Hey, me again.
My question is actually for our wonderful Chief of Police.
Okay.
And
Chief?
the talks about crime prevention, was wondering what was being done about the guys who have been lovingly named by the city as the Charger Boys, the ones that get their fancy little cars and go 100 miles an hour down a 30-mile-an-hour residential street, up and down our regular streets. I personally have almost been hit by three times by these guys. And when you talk to a police officer about it, they're same thing with the other. You got to have video proof. And, I mean, there's a guy that lives on my street that does it 100 miles an hour down our street. I know where he lives. I know his license plate number, and I know his car, but I got to have video proof. I don't have time to sit outside all day waiting for these cars to go by to get a video of them. And they're putting people in danger. They're putting children, animals, the whole city in danger by what they're doing.
I agree 100%. And if you could give us tag numbers, we don't necessarily have to have video. Because you're going to think this is beautiful. These turds are putting this stuff on social media, and we're charging them for it. Matter of fact, we've seized 3 cars. There's a law. It's called, what's that law the judge told us about? Reckless stunt driving. They get 3 of those charges, we seize their cars. So that just tells you, if we're already seizing 3 cars, how many times we've caught these guys. So we're on them. We got a person that's monitoring social media. And you guys, if you've seen it or not, we got a $1.6 million grant for cameras and a thing called Flock. Those things are going to help us get people like that. So you give us tag numbers, we can put that in our Flock camera, and we can clock them, or we can check their speed on that, and we'll put them in jail. We'll take their stuff.
What about like when you know an area where these guys do it every single day?
You just call us. Alan's going to give you his card. You call us. We'll get the police out there. We'll get one of them big speed signs out there that will monitor the speed. It'll tell us how many times they go by there.
That needs that.
Just give us a call. We'll work on that.
All right.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Alicia Traylor, Police Chief Mathis. I have a question for you, sir. We used to have the GREAT program and the DARE program in the schools. Why isn't that in the schools anymore? I know this is not the school board district, but the police department used to be in charge of that program when my kids attended school. We came here 20 years ago, we retired here. And Columbus, I have to agree with you, it breaks my heart. It breaks my heart. When Porter-Chef was here, this was the best city to live in the country, and it went down the drain pretty fast. But we had the DARE program and the GREAT program, and when the predecessor was here, they even had the gang police officers that were doing gang resistant education and training, and the gang task force. I called her and I asked her, why did you disband that task force? And she said it was all under one umbrella. This is not a new thing with gang police, different departments or different sections being in charge. It's just that you're recreating the wheel. We don't need another nonprofit with these kids out here. It's enough. I'm tired of them because they're all in it to whiff them. They're all in it. What is in it for me? We need to stop with the nonprofits. We need to have them accountable. We need to bring them to task and see what they're doing for these children. I don't have any kids here. All my kids are gone, adult, and thank God they're doing fine. But we need to do something different in this city. We have to stop with the nonprofits. We have to stop with recreating the wheel every single time. My next question is the pool.
Can I answer that question real quick?
Yeah.
We do still teach the DARE program.
Oh, you do?
Yes, ma'am. We still teach the DARE program. Now, the GREAT program, when the school system started their own police department, because the Muskogee County school system has their own police department, at some point in there, the gang classes were taken from us, but we still teach the DARE program today. We have Sergeant Florence. If anybody's ever met Sergeant Florence, she's in charge.
To all the schools, sir?
Well, here, there's a lot of schools, and we only have 2 people doing it. So what they do it for 12 weeks. They go around. When your kids were in it, it was a 12-week program that every school got. Now it's a 12-week program that only select schools get. But they do it throughout the year. Like they just go throughout the year and get as many classes as they can. So we still teach the program. It's the resources, because when your kids went through it, it was funded by the state. And at some point, the Muskogee County started having to fund that. And to be quite honest, Muskogee County and Columbus Police Department are only a few places that actually teach that any longer. Most places don't teach it at all, simply because it wasn't effective. They teach it in the 5th grade, and they don't teach it again. And by the time they get out of high school, they're doing everything they would have done anyway. So it wasn't effective. But we do still teach here in Columbus.
And how do you prioritize which school get their program in? I mean, how is it? So it has to be requested by the principal? Oh. Okay. The second question, how are you prioritizing the pool, which pool is being fixed first? And then to that extent, the Salmon Road pool, which is the area that I'm residing in, well, far away from there. That pool was fixed. It was a new pool, and then a couple years later, the pool was broken. Do we ever ask for warranties in anything that we do? I'm just asking.
You know, I'm not sure how they were prioritized, and I think, I know it was there for more than a few years because they were built with a splosh back in '96. Yeah. Well, she's talking about Salmon Road, the pool out of Salmon Road. Yeah, no, she was just asking, do we not have warranties because it's just a few years?
Oh. Well, yes. Well, and they did have warranties. The pools were constructed, they were in the 1993 special purpose local option sales tax. And the first pool was Shirley Winston, built in 1996, and the others were all done in that same time frame. And so those pools are more than 20 years old. And so yes, they had a warranty, and the ones that we are constructing now will have a warranty. There's no way we would spend, back then it was $2 million. I believe each pool now is either $4 or $5 million. We're not going to spend $5 million on a pool and not have a warranty. And so yes, the pool will have warranty. Will have a warranty. And I had her looking for the dates, and Holly, you may know them, but of completion. And it's not a matter of whether, as the mayor said, whether we have the funding to do it. It's about coming out of COVID, supply and demand. The supplies were, you know, and finding contractors who can come and construct those pools and do them in a timely manner. And so we're coming out of COVID, and there's still issues with being able. I was talking to the police chief today, and he wants vehicles. And just as an example with vehicles, Chief, I believe you said if you bought the vehicles now or in June, you would get them next year this time. And so, I mean, I've got Warden, you guys, I tell you, go buy them off the lot. We can't wait. If you find them on a lot here in Columbus, Atlanta, wherever, go get the vehicle. We can't wait on the manufacturer to, and so that's our struggle with getting these pools done. I mean, if we could just pay them and have them go do them, and they do them in 60 days, I mean, it'd be done. And so she's looking for the dates, and I know, and Holly, you may know, but when we say that they may not be done as soon as kids, typically we want pools open when the kids get out of school in May. Well, that's not going to happen. And so I think, you know, one may be June, another may be July, and one may be as late as August. We got the money, we just got to get it done. And so it's not that we're just sitting around dragging our feet. And so we're working at getting it done. But last year and the year before, when the other pools were not open, we had a plan where we offered free bus passes, and we had all kinds of other activity, but they were able to come to where the pools were open, and that's at the here at the City Services Center, and Double Churches, I believe, was open. It's an outdoor pool, but we had bus passes that, and weren't they able to swim free? They were able to swim free because typically it costs them, but we're trying to get those pools done. We've got the money. It's a matter of, I drove out to Shirley Winston today just to look at the progress, and they're working. And so we're trying to get it done. This summer, but yes, but yeah, and you're gonna have to come to the mic if you want to ask a question. not you, but the one behind you raising their hand, and there's a line. But yes, you're working on that, and you made a presentation to council a couple of weeks ago, and we're going to come back and present again, yes.
All right, we've got about 4 minutes left, so I'm going to ask everybody who's in line to be very brief with your question. And anybody we don't get to, we'll stick around. The department heads will stick around. So if you got a question, we'll still try to get it answered before we get out of here. Very quickly, yes, ma'am.
Hi, I didn't realize that I forgot to introduce myself. My name's Jalen Colane. I am a Navy veteran as of June, and I am an active member of the queer community. I was wondering what kind of representation the queer community has in Columbus, because I've only been here a year. I know that there are some small groups within Columbus, but sorry, I'm trying to figure out how to
That's
phrase
all right.
this. With the events in the past few months in other states, what are we doing to protect queer kids?
Yeah, to answer the first part of your question, I know that there's a gay pride weekend, but there's also a gentleman that has I think the first Saturday of every month, they host a get together on the median.
Diversity Saturdays.
Diversity Saturdays, and we do have a liaison to the LGBTQ community.
Mr. Jeremy, right?
Jeremy had been the liaison. We're trying to give different people different chances to participate.
Okay.
So but I'll try to get you some information in terms of protecting kids that
I guess what my
I'll talk to you afterwards because I get on my soapbox when I talk about I think people are just kind of mean these days, and it gets on my nerves. But there's nothing I've been able to do to stop it.
So that you know and you're not thinking the pools will open May or June, but the current schedule for completion, and you're not going to like this because I don't like it, but Rigdon Road, July of 2024 is when that pool, the Olympic-sized pool, will open, July of 2024. Shirley Winston is on schedule to open August 2024, and Salmon Road, September 2024. And the splash pads, I don't know that we've decided there are going to be 7 of those. I don't know that we've decided all 7 locations, but I know we're looking at one here in Center City, I think one in the Liberty District, and is it Flat Rock Park, Holly, one of the splash pads, Flat Rock Park. Here, the Liberty District, Britt David Park, South Commons, Carver Park. And by the way, we're doing $5.7 million of renovation at Carver Park as well. But there's 7 splash pads that we're working on.
Allie, you to 7:30? I thought they said it was at 7. Good. Thank goodness. I was sitting there going, all right, how am I going to tell these people? How am I going to tell these people? Maybe I can get a mic drop moment. No, I apologize. I don't know why I thought it was at 7 o'clock. So, well, good. I don't have to insult anybody, tell them, that's it. Go. All right, Allie, let's still pretend it's 7 now.
So I have a follow-up question about the tranquilizing before euthanasia. Back in November, our group Columbus Animal Allies, we request records through open records requests, and we had found that a large percentage of the animals were not being tranquilized before euthanasia, and we presented that information publicly at the Animal Control Advisory Board. Right after that, we noticed, like a miracle, almost 100% of the animals were suddenly getting tranquilizer, and this went on for many months. Now, very recently, this seems to have stopped, or at least a lot fewer are getting tranquilizer. Something has changed, and so I would like to know, how does Dr. Hall communicate the information, not being physically at the shelter? How does he tell CACC which animals should get tranquilizer and which shouldn't? What method of communication is used, and is this on a case-by-case basis, or has he made some decree about all the animals or certain situations? Thank you.
And I don't know, but I can tell you, we'll check with Dr. Hall, and we'll get an answer from there.
I mean, does the director not know, or?
I don't know, Kenita, do you know why he's doing some and not others? We don't,
But I mean,
we
the
don't know.
staff does it,
Well,
so
well,
the
I
manager
know,
tells
you're
the
right, but
staff
I
what
can
to
tell
do.
you that unless Dr. Hall tells me why Dr. Hall does some and not all, I can't help you. But I will find out.
But doesn't the management tell the staff what to do? So is Dr. Hall
Based on
directly
what,
telling
based
the
on what
staff?
Dr. Hall says with
But
regards
how
to
would
treating
management
animals.
not know the answer then?
Ally, I'll get you the answer.
Okay, I would just appreciate an answer.
Sure. Sure. Well, yeah, no, it's so much more fun to lie, right?
Yes,
ahead.
Mr. Mayor, I wasn't going to come back again, but the Spirit led me back, and I'm back. So now, I want y'all to understand something and feel what I'm about to say. And this is not to throw darts at anyone, but the Spirit said, get up and make your comment. So I heard the comment about we have too many nonprofits. It struck something in my soul because I run one of those nonprofits. And the mayor and Seth Brown and the city manager have been with me when it's raining and 30 degrees in the E.E. Farley homes. Am I right, Mr. Mayor? And I want you to understand something. This man that's standing before you right now has been in the White House, asked to come by the president. But I am only standing here because one of those nonprofit mentors made sure that I was going to be successful in life. So I agree with the mayor, the police. You can't arrest this. You can't arrest everybody that commits these. You're not going to arrest our way out of it. You're just not. So when you don't down the nonprofits because your church is a nonprofit. And we've got to understand that it's going to take all of us, I don't care where you live, to make this crime go away here. But we can't chastise each other. We have to work together. I don't care where you live, what's your zip code, how many zeros you got in the bank. Because I don't mind driving to E.E. Farley and standing and talking to those young men. I was talking to a young man that had a gun on him. But that's what it's going to take. It's going to take some of us that don't want to go into those neighborhoods. The Cure Violence, Jerome, I think his name Jerome Lawson, I got so much mad respect for that man. It was someone like him that saved me from being in the gang. So let's consider that, folks. That's all I ask. And the city, I love Columbus. We got problems just like any other city. But we ain't got problems like Macon. We ain't got problems like Albany. I'm going to tell you right now, you think crime bad here, go live in Albany. How I know? Because my daughter lives there. And I talk to her every day. And she lives in a nice neighborhood. And when she calls me and says, Dad, I'm afraid to go out of my house. So I just want to kind of clean the air just a little bit. That's all. We have to do this together. And if you have a problem with the city, call the city. I have seen this. I'm disabled. I know I don't look like it. I'm disabled. I can't think of the man's name. If I knew his name, I'm on the list to have my trash taken care of. He took him out. He called me and said, look, Mr. Broad, I got you. I can't think of his name. I got his name in my phone. But we've got to reach out to the folks. You can't just chastise them all the time and expect it to work. I'm sorry. You might not want to hear that, but I'm going to say it. Because the Spirit, and I ain't never been afraid to say what's on my mind. But I just want to clear that out, Mr. Mayor. I'm good. I love Columbus. I love the south side. I love the north side, east side, and west side. I love Columbus. We've just got to think about that and loving each other. I'm through.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
That's a hard act to follow, I'm sorry. So as I digest the pickleball solutions, both of those are pay per play. I mean, you're gonna have to pay to go to Cooper Creek. You're gonna have to pay to go to this new facility, hopefully on the water property. But how about just some open public? I go over to Opelika, doesn't cost me a dime to play over there. I go to Noonan, it doesn't cost me a dime to play there. Why can't we have some free facilities, 24 hours a day, lights,
Yeah,
you know?
I don't know is the short answer. I didn't know.
Cost, I mean, yeah.
I mean, I go to Cooper Creek on Saturday and I have to pay $3. And
Okay.
then, you know, they have their memberships, you know, $200 and some for a yearly membership or whatever. So I'm assuming, you know, it's going to be pay for play. And
Yeah.
the new facility is definitely going to be pay for
Okay.
play.
Okay.
So we have no free facilities.
Well, and I guess the only thing that we still have some of the rec centers, but you highlighted one of the issues. Now, I do know that both of those facilities are run through partnerships that the city has. One is, I think, Corda kind of operates Cooper Creek on behalf of the city through that partnership. And there's a pickleball association that I think is working with this development of the new site. And I think they are going to operate it too and kind of set some of the operation, because that's one of the biggest challenges for the city is having the manpower to be able to go out there and operate it full time.
But I mean,
No, I
Noonan
get your
and
point.
Opelika do not have people managing those. You walk in, you turn the lights on,
Just
you
walk in
play
and play.
24 hours a day, turn the lights out, you go home. Nobody's monitoring those. So if we had facilities like that just anywhere that you could go play 24 hours a day would be great.
I got you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Yes, ma'am.
Another pool question.
Okay.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
The audience wants to know, because apparently this has been broadcast worldwide.
Right.
Why is Shirley B being completed second, since it closed since 2017, way before the others and way before COVID? And I believe the city council was willing to allocate more money for that. Have you looked into getting alternate contractors?
I don't know. I can tell you, I stay out of any RFP process because I don't want anybody saying that I did something to get some.
And Mayor, I don't know the answer, but one's open, Rigdon is July, Shirley Winston is August.
So there's no
And
particular
there's-
reason.
Well, I mean, we're talking 30 days or less, okay? So what's the question?
The question was, Shirley B why is Shirley B being completed second
So-
when it closed first back before COVID in 2017? And have you looked for additional contractors to do the work?
I don't know the answer, but they're all open within 30 days apart.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I mean, that's reasonable.
I'm just asking the question.
I know, I'm just saying, I believe that's reasonable, that one opens in July and another opens in August and in September. So, well, and I understand that. We typically open the pools in May when the kids get out of school. I'm talking to you. We could not, if we could control the construction schedule, it's not money. Ma'am, would you let me talk to her, ma'am? Thank you. But this is not your business. This is between us right now. Yes, please go and ask your animal question. But
Their logic is that one closed first, long ago.
Ma'am, let
Why
me ask-
didn't we start there?
yeah, so I don't know the answer to that, but they're open 30 days apart.
Okay.
Or less. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I came back. I wasn't going to come back, but I need to be clear to Mr. Broadwater. I said we don't need another nonprofit. Roll the tape back. That's exactly what I said. Okay? So Hit dogs always bark. but,
Well, do you have a question?
The question, no, I'm just making a point that I
Okay,
said
well, I
that we
just,
didn't
I don't
need-
want to see this devolve
we
into
don't need
people
a-
going back
we
and
want-
forth with each other.
The nonprofits that are here doing a great job.
Thank-
That's what
yeah,
I'm saying.
I
We
agree
don't
with you.
need- We don't need any more.
I agree with
We
you.
just need to work together with them, like he said.
Yes, ma'am.
And make them better, to improve them. Just
I
like
agree.
the GRADE program and the DARE program.
I think everybody agrees. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I didn't say my name. My name is Radia Mallard. So my thing is, the question I had actually was about the pools. This is a big issue, obviously, right? So you mentioned something about the,
Excuse me, if y'all let her ask her question so that we can hear her, if you don't mind. Thank you. Please continue.
you mentioned something, sir, about transportation,
Mhm.
right? What was the participation rate there? How did that information get put out? Was everyone aware that that was an option for them? And what vehicles was used for that? Was it the newspaper? Was it social media? Was it, because if that's, that is something that keeps the youth out of
Yeah.
trouble, so just
It was,
curious.
I think we used social media. We also went through the schools. And I think our Parks and Rec department at every recreation center passed out information. It started when the first pool was broken and we couldn't replace it right away. So we called it a summer passport. We got museums and the Springer and all a wide array of organizations. And we let them use that pass as a bus pass so that the kids could have transportation. I think we'll revisit that and see if we still have the ability to continue to provide the transportation, although with the regional pools, hopefully it won't be as big of an issue.
Okay, and that was free to the
It was
public?
free. Yes, ma'am.
That's
Now,
it.
the museum and some of those, it might have been like a buy one, get one. So if you brought a parent and went to the botanical gardens, that the child would get in free or at a greatly reduced rate, so.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Well, I tell you, first of all, I want to thank the department heads for being here and the counselors. They gave up their evening like y'all did to try to make sure they could try their best to give you the answers to the questions that you have. But more than anything, I want to thank all of you for the questions that you brought forward. And I think it highlights we're not always going to agree. We're not always going to be able to give you an answer that you love, but you deserve an honest answer. So that's the focus of these types of gatherings. We hope you'll continue to stay engaged. If you see something wrong in your community, help us get it taken care of. Call 311. And if it's still there after a couple days and you called 311, you can call the mayor's office and let me know that it's still sitting there and you called it in, and we'll get it taken care of. All right? Well, again, thank y'all so much for being here. We appreciate it. And I'm sure some of them they're going to kill me. They'll be happy to stick around if you have a question that you want to ask offline.